Hey everyone, Life on Side B is a podcast of Holy Ourselves, which helps integrate faith and sexuality through spiritual direction, cohorts, and resources. Learn more at holyourselves, WHOLLY ourselves.org. Before we start, we have another listener message.
Hi, my name is Noah. Thank you guys for this opportunity. It's exciting. I did laugh though when I listened to the podcast and you asked the gays to limit it to 5 minutes. I usually send really long voice messages, so I'm going to try and keep this short. Straight to the point. Side B has just been color to my black and white world. Coming to Side B. So I've really appreciated all the content. And it has been my place. Living in New Zealand, I have not had community. I have not had people who understand, and I'm doing my best to actually make people understand. So this is where I just really can throw my head back and laugh and cry, spend time learning, and it's been a beautiful season for me having life on Side B. Yes. I love your laughter. I love how each of you come from so diverse backgrounds. All of y'all are so beautiful, and hopefully I get to meet you at Revoice one day.
Yeah, so how I wanted to do this. I just have a couple questions that I had wrote down for both boys. So hello audience. This is our last season. So we're all hosting an episode. So this is mine. And I believe we all get to kind of pick whatever we want to talk about. And so, and who interview whoever we wanted to interview. So I chose for my episode to do a Life of Side B boys, just chat, just a kiki. And we've been doing this thing for a while. And the three of us have just been in solidarity over here, just chaotic solidarity. Well, Grant and I chaotic, and then Josh just putting up with us.
Yeah, I love it. I love every moment of it.
Yeah, I was thinking about this last night on my second glass of wine. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so bittersweet. Because it is the end of an era in a way. And I feel like our personal lives have also just grown as this podcast has grown. And so we've evolved and changed so much. And so it's nice to think about who was the Henry and Grant when they first joined Josh in season 2? And what were those relationships like? What were those conversations like? And who are they now as they 5 years later, or 4.5 now? 5, yeah. Half a decade. That is wild.
Yeah, I'm looking at episode Nate titles, and it's just so crazy to see episode 1 of season 2, January 6th, 2020.
Yeah.
Wow. So this will be 5 years by the time.
That.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Oh yeah, because you emerged.
Well, no, apparently we did an episode on January 6th the year before, because that was 2021.
Yes.
I'm sorry. My chronology is off.
Because I remember Grant was like, you were at school or something, so you were unaware, and then you turned on your phone. Yes. And
the second year. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was still the previous seminary at that time.
Wow. Were you even Catholic yet?
I wasn't even Catholic yet.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah.
I was still trying to make it in the PCI.
Yesteryear. Okay. Wow. Talk about trying to be where you're not wanted. But I just want to kind of trace just our journey and then just ask y'all some questions. And so Josh, I'll go first with you. So what was, outside of the fact that doing it solo was just a lot, what made you, or some of the other reasons you wanted to bring in co-hosts, and then specifically Grant and I?
Yeah. So, I started season 1 not knowing if it was going to go anywhere. I was we're going to just do some interviews on belonging and community and figure it out. And when I towards the end of it, I was seeing, okay, this is resonating with people. I remember a conversation with Thomas Starchia. Good old Thomas. Love Thomas Starchia. We were driving to like Orlando. I'm trying to remember the context of this conversation, but we were driving and we were talking about life on side B. And Thomas was actually the first one to like link on to it and the idea of like having a bigger co-host team. Having this co-host team where you have diverse voices. Maybe you're not on every single episode, but you're like engaging and getting to hear different people each time. And that stuck with me so much because I was like, I wanted to make sure that I think one of my deepest desires at the beginning of Life on Side B was I want to represent voices that we don't normally get to hear from. I wanted to highlight people that weren't being heard. I wanted to highlight voices that no one knew, not just having the same conversations with the same people aspect. And that was a passion of mine, and to represent our community. And so even with 6 co-hosts, you weren't going to get a representation of everyone. But I knew I kind of wanted it to be 3 males, 3 females, diverse experiences within that, single, married, racially diverse, all of these aspects. And then also dynamic people. And the funny part is like, I had met both of you. And we had, I don't remember how well we knew each other. Did we know each other really well?
I don't know, but you apparently thought I was dynamic.
Yeah.
Dynamic.
I mean, both of you, obviously.
I think you and I were good friends already by that point in time.
I do remember after I asked you, Henry, you were like, Josh, I want to become good friends. And I'm like, yeah, because I was worried you did not like me.
Wow.
Oh.
I was worried. I remember our first whole season. I was like, I don't know if Henry likes me.
My God. My gosh.
It was so in my head. But granted, I don't think anyone likes me. So there's
Gosh, I'm the same way.
I've had to process that.
That is crazy. Then why did you ask me?
I loved what our conversations, and I thought you brought so much, and like every single and I think the other aspect of why I was drawn to you guys is, you know me, I like to keep it real. I don't want to have the conversations where we're placating around stuff. I'm like, let's just actually talk about the elephant in the room and let's talk about it. And I knew both of you would be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I mean, who knew that where we would be now? But those were some of the things that went into it. Was like, I had, even with where we were at the time, I remember just going, I remember you two were very early in my decision. I want to ask them.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. The last thing I'll say, and then we can move on to the next thing, is like, I put together a list of people, and I really thought, oh gosh, all of these people are going to say no, and I'm going to need to create backups. I thought you both were going to say no. I thought Becca was going to say no. I thought Ashley was going to say no. And all of you said yes. You all were my first picks.
I love that.
It was like really funny that like I was creating this like backup list of people, and I didn't have to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I am glad.
I'm just kidding.
I don't remember this.
I actually want to know. Grant, I'm not kidding.
Yeah, text me later.
Yes.
I wish I could remember. I wish I could remember.
I'm sure it's in your notes somewhere.
I will have to look for it and find it. And like, but that was so much of it. And I know another aspect of it all was, I just wanted different perspectives. Like, that's why I wanted Ashley, because she wasn't completely, out at the time. And I wasn't sure if she was going to say yes because of that and different things.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you caught me at the beginning of 2020. That wasn't like, oh my God, that was before I just started fully going in on white evangelicals. So that was an interesting, that season 2 was just like, if I go back and listen to some of those episodes, like, oh, Henry was just done. But
I remember. And I was here for it. That conversation of you and Art on race culture in the church. Great.
Oh my gosh. No, you do not have to worry about me not liking you. Like, I like everybody we've worked with. So, you brought something to the table. So something different, unique, like you said. So I think you got what you were going for. Yeah. Grant, when you agreed to say yes, did you think, or when you said yes, did you think it would get to this, or that we'd be here? And did you think you'd do it this long? Because I don't know if I could tell you that I thought I'd be doing this for 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely not. I don't know if I had very many expectations because it was something fairly new. Like I hadn't the format of like a bunch of co-hosts all like doing various topics and having various conversations. It was
And
really
none
exciting.
of them living around each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really exciting, but I didn't know what to expect. So I was excited by it, but I did not think that it would last. I didn't know it would last this long. And I think it's become really important to some people.
Very.
And I think, like, as I've talked about this podcast with other folks, I think the thing that I love about what we've done is it's very much unpolished and oftentimes unstructured. And it's like a bunch of us are gathered together and just having real conversations. And it's the kind of conversations that we've always been having, but a lot of people haven't known that these kinds of conversations and so they get a taste of those conversations where they might feel very isolated. They might feel like they don't have a lot of community. And so they get to hear a bunch of friends talk about these things. And so I think that's really special. And so I've just been really honored to be a part of it. So, yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I would say for me, I also did not think that we'd be here. Not would be here, but I didn't know because, like you said, yeah, it was new. The format was different. This podcast works really well for listeners that have ADHD or ADD.
Yeah, that's because like 90% of us have ADHD.
Yes, and so I was like, this would be, yeah, growing very diagnosed over here. But yeah, and I was like, okay. And then I remember maybe a couple years in telling Josh, because there's been several times that Josh has almost ended this podcast. So this time it's actually ending. But I think even after season 3, I think, you started entertaining the idea to end after season 3. And then I was like, well, it could just go on like The View forever. Josh could be Barbara Walters, just bringing a different co-host. I said that. Josh was like, no. He's like, there will be an end point. I was like, it could just be, we can pass it down to the next generation and little gay bees and side bees. Yeah. And he was like, no, this will happen. It
will end.
But everything has to come to an end at some point in time. Doesn't mean something different can't come along or just even something similar, but as beneficial. But yeah, I did not think we'd be here, but I'm so grateful for the past 5 years and that you had the idea to do this and bring others on the ride so you weren't on it alone. And really, as Grant was saying, just give people access to maybe conversations they haven't had a chance to be a part of or listen into or learn from, and just to diverse different voices and people that have been on the podcast being interviewed and topics that have been covered. Like, I always forget, because like me, we record them and then it's literally out of sight, out of mind. That's like for any project I do in my life. So once it's out there, like even once I write something, I just stop thinking about it. And then like the impact it has on people, and either they come up to you or they send emails or leave comments, I'm just like, oh, that really did matter. So it's like, I'm glad that we have taken the time to do this. It has not always been easy with scheduling.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
that's why we're ending.
Man, yeah, I was about to tell you, in some ways, bringing on co-hosts made your life in this podcast harder because managing 6 schedules is a lot.
Yeah.
Well, and also that the other thing that I think is funny, I was reflecting on this, is the fact that when I asked everyone, like all of us were we weren't known in this space at all. None of us really were. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe y'all were. Now, I didn't really feel like anyone and that wasn't the point of it. But then it's so funny because we all became a thing, and then Becca started working for Revoice, and then like you started doing all your stuff with Revoice, Henry, and like Grant, you started you were already doing workshops and stuff, but like it's been interesting to watch the evolution of how people found their voice and found their stuff and found what they're doing. And like Ashley now, with everything that Ashley's doing, of like the Your Other Sisters, Your Other Family, and like what in Spanish and these things. And like to be able to see everyone grow, and now Elizabeth, like with Kaleidoscope and all of these aspects, that I feel like one of the aspects of it around the scheduling is we're all doing so much, you know?
Yeah.
Like multiple people have had babies. All of our female co-hosts have children now.
Yeah.
And that not all of them did at the beginning. So
that's true.
It's just those aspects. But like, I am really glad that I feel one of the legacies of the podcast will be when I think that when we started, this conversation around Side B was so academic. And I think we needed the academic grounding. We needed to be taken seriously. We needed to show that this was a logical path forward. But being able to give more practical spaces for conversation that you didn't need to be a scholar to talk, I think is one of the things I hope we can leave behind in this podcast.
Yeah, because I think in various ways, we all did come with some fairly stacked resumes, I would say.
Yes,
just
we did.
In terms of like being, I think, people who were capable of speaking into this topic and conversation. We had done the work individually on our own. We'd had our own journeys and certainly had taken the time to maybe carve out our thoughts. Like, we weren't speaking just offhanded. It's not like you put a bunch of people together who had no idea what they were talking about kind of thing.
Yes, 100%.
But, seeing in the past 5 years, well, Grant was already the queer treasurer. And so, like, so he came in with a level of side B celebrity already. And so,
and even you, that first year, 2020,
Anthony.
Yeah. And I mean, already on 2020, you were speaking at Revoice that version.
Oh, yeah. So I came in, I clocked in that opening night, and then the very next day. That's when I got called by Tim W. He said, he's like, because I was speaking about race, and I had a white pastor on there, my pastor friend Garrett, who's a very dear friend of mine. He's like, oh, why is the black guy bringing on a white person about race? Because one, there's more than one race on this planet. Hello. But two, I'm trying to talk to white people who cause these issues. Okay.
Oh, I thought that was going to be the comment where you were called the Side B Candace Owens.
Oh my God. Can you remember when somebody said that? That was wild. That was also on Twitter, wasn't it?
Yes. I thought that was the comment you were going to refer to.
It might have been the same thread. It might have been Tim. Honestly, it might have been the same thread. Hey, Tim.
I died.
I was like, you could not tell me anything worse than that. I'm going to ask you, it's probably been the worst review you've gotten from this podcast. I'll jump that question. Hands down. That was mine. Like, what? Like, oh my God, I want nothing to do with that lady. Like, oh my gosh, I read that and I was like, oh, he's off his rocker for sure. Because there's no way you can interact with me and even remotely think of me as Candace Owens. But, yeah.
Something like that.
Well, I was thinking, like, I've been thinking a lot about the ministry, the vocation and the ministry of being normal. And I think that that's something that the podcast offered. Not that we're all normal, but that we're
what is normal? Yeah.
But it's just like we're just queer people trying to figure out how to live life with these convictions. And we don't have to have all the answers, and we don't have to spend all this time trying to convince people that we're respectable or that we can do this. Like, so much energy is freed up by being able to just be a real person and be a normal person.
Yes.
So I think that was a special gift for me on the podcast. I just got to be normal and talk with other people who got it. And I don't have to, anyway, that's what it felt like for me.
I was actually about to ask, I'm so glad you brought that. I was like, how do you think, or what is something that this podcast helped change in your personal life? And grow, or give you the opportunity to like really explore further. Because I think for me, a gift that this podcast allowed me to, or a gift it gave me, and a part of myself that allowed me to lean into was like, oh, I just kind of stopped being palatable. I kind of stopped playing the flexibility politics.
Right.
The games, like the games that inside me people, this evangelical people want us, the hoops they want us to jump through. Like, I just stopped caring. I'm just like, not in a bad way, because like, yes, I like obviously know that just should conduct myself integrity and self-respect and all the fruits of the spirit. But it's just like, I also like, I'm a real person, like Grant was saying, and like, we just need to be real people. And I just stopped caring. There's been so much freedom in that. It's just like, I'm just going to be who I am, and this is good. It's good enough for the Lord, so what makes y'all think it ain't good enough for y'all?
Yeah,
Okay,
amen.
Y'all better go somewhere else. And I just like, I fully leaned into that. And it's just like, and I mean, like, literally, I think all the time, I'm so chaotic. I say the most unhinged things, but it's just like, somebody else out there thinking it, doing it. So I'm just like, I'm going to say it because also what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. And it's just like, we're having real conversations. Like whenever people come up to me or like come up to any of us, it's just like, that's the feedback. It's like, oh, I really love how you study John, which I'm sure we say things that like go into scripture because you know me and my references. But it's more like, no, I really enjoy how y'all talked about this topic, how you gave advice about like purity, or how you talked about lust, or how you talked about family dynamics, or how you talked about coming out of the closet, how you talked about like shame or abuse. It's like real life, everyday topics.
Yeah.
But I think in various ministry settings, people are nervous to talk about from the front at church, or even in certain small groups. But here, if we're all just behind a mic or a screen and just being our real selves, it empowers other people that like, oh, those 6 people are doing it. They can do it too. And so this podcast left me with the ability. It gave me the part of me that is now like, does not care about being a palatable gay person, a palatable Christian person. Like, I'm like, take it or leave it. And if you give a damn, okay. Yes, rat, take me or leave me. Yes.
Absolutely. I think one of the lessons, this happened because I was kind of radicalized at the first revoice when, understandably so.
Yeah.
I came to the conclusion really early on, there's nothing I can do to become acceptable to a certain kind of person.
Yep.
Homophobia doesn't care about your sexual ethics. It doesn't care. It just wants you dead. So, so you just got to do what God wants you to do. And that's all you should be thinking about. I mean, sometimes being like acting in a certain way to prevent other people from getting the wrong idea makes sense. I'm not saying like just be crazy, but I think, there is a lot of freedom in that. Yeah. And I this was a safe place where I got to live out a lot of that freedom. Because it's not only that searching for respectability can make you feel more secure, there are also you can reach for opportunities if you if you try and get respectable, trying to be respectable.
Yes.
And people will talk with you and platform you and I sometimes...
Someone please write a note real quick so I can tell you about the very same thing Grant is talking about. When we get off this call, something happened to me after this past gathering we had this summer. Do with that word gathering what you will. But okay. Okay, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I think that you can gain the world and lose your soul.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I feel like that resonates with one of the areas for me, like being an Enneagram 3. I naturally go into the presenting myself in a way and an aspect. And I think one of the hardest things in current Christianity is learning how leaders can be real and still lead. Like how we can create the space for growth and reality and vulnerability in a way that allows for leading from our core selves and not from a facade. And I think that is something I always struggled with. And so this space to be able to learn, like it was a culture. I remember telling all of you guys when we first started the cohost team, if I remember that first meeting going, hey, y'all, I'm processing stuff in my own life. Also, no one's going to get kicked off if you have sex with someone.
Yeah.
No one's getting kicked off if that happens. This is a space like I want us to be able to create that vulnerability. I want us to be able to create the support, because so much of like speaking or leadership or anything within Christianity creates such isolation and such spaces where you are afraid to say anything, and then you just hold it in your soul and it kills you from the inside. And so even having this space on here where I was able to go on an episode and say, hey, here's something I did. Here's something, ways that I have been seeking to grow and learn in my own life. And being able to say that was a powerful growth for me, like in a powerful place for me to learn what it means to lead from my own journey and not from what I think people need for me to be or like want me to be. Obviously, it leads in that same way. And I think that along those same lines, being able to do it alongside you all who are on that same journey. And like each of us that has been on that same journey and in different ways, like even not only us three, but like I know like Ashley's journey of trying to figure out what it means to be out within her context, and Elizabeth's like context of trying to figure out what it means to lead her organization, and Becca in her whole organization, being a single parent, and like all of these aspects that we were going, and there's so much that just drives us to want to be, as you're saying, palatable, drives us to want to be the perfect example. Like I can't have any flaws, I can't have any mistakes. And yet the gospel, I think, is so much more powerful when we can lead out of our own vulnerability. Yeah. And I think that's something it's given me. And I think now, like the opportunity that I have of being a local pastor at my church, being able to do that same thing, I attribute originally to this podcast.
Love that.
That's sweet.
Love that. Question. I guess. Okay. Who, maybe give me like two, like either, okay, your favorite episode and then your favorite person you interviewed or your favorite guest we had.
Ooh.
I gotta refresh my memory.
Looking at episodes.
I know. I can do guests. I don't know if I could do episode.
I do remember a moment. I'm going to go ahead and say it really quickly.
Yeah.
One moment that sticks with me of you two is when we were interviewing Wendy Steve, and I still remember
that episode. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember I was in Nashville at like the Christian Missionary Alliance National Gathering, and I was in the Airbnb, and we did that. And then also the conference, like we like basically did a non-recorded episode afterwards of the three of us just geeking and talking. And we were like, it was such a beautiful moment. That moment still sticks with me. And the fact that we had such a conversation with Steve that we had to make it a 2-part episode was just really, really impactful. And I love that was the three of us getting to talk.
Yes. I would say when it comes to the three of us, that probably is those episodes, and then the conversation. I mean, it was like 1 a.m. I think. Like
it was late.
Like by the time we were done, I'm probably closer to 2 Central, and so that was one of my favorites for sure. Like with the three of us and that little dynamic, and so and if I really enjoyed some of our just like offline, like after the podcast record, it's like, all right, like, y'all stay. We got to process this, like because it also became this like we became this community for each other. So like. Because I think sometimes people think that, like, people either think we're, like, the best of friends, or they think that we just record and don't interact at all. And then so I'm just like, no, it's like, I literally talk to these boys, like, we can record for 30 minutes and I'm talking for an hour after. Sometimes, I mean, we have unreleased quickies that...
The vaults. We have the vaults.
The vaults. Yes.
The amount of times we go, this can never be released.
Yeah. Feel like you need to do like a podcast burn book style, like where you just drop the clips that we've said, take this out and don't release this. Or you're Regina George in the hallway just throwing the pieces of paper. Oh, absolutely. Oh my God.
Regina is a fugly slut.
Yes.
Don't
and then
trust
the next,
her.
Oh, just do it or the next V-Voice, just do it there. Just like walk into the chapel and just throw those out. Oh my gosh. Nate would have a heart attack. Oh my God. Actually, now Michelle would more than Nate. Oh God. The show would be like, what is this? But no. So yeah, I think, those were my favorite episodes and moments. I think my favorite person guest that we've had, I know I've really enjoyed, I believe I talked to Wesley. What season was that?
Wesley Hill?
That
was,
Dr.
I think,
Hill, excuse me.
That was when we did Brunch with the Authors. Because it was David Bennett, Wesley Hill. It was you and me, I believe. Yeah, here it is. Brunch with the Authors. It was you and me interviewing Eve Tushnet, Dr. Wesley Hill, and David Bennett.
Dr. David Bennett, yes.
Dr. David Bennett as well.
Oh, yeah, because I was having champagne. I was having my mimosa. I remember that. I took that much seriously.
Because then we kikied. Then we stayed on with David.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That was good.
That was good.
Is that recorded?
That's not recorded.
Okay. Either. I think I remember because that was Ross. I think I remember being like, okay, maybe we should not record this. But yeah. And then I think Jackie Hill Perry, because that was such a big gap.
My
favorite from that has to be when I texted Jacob. I was like, you need to stop calling her Jackie. You start calling her Mrs. Perry. Because that was like show respect.
Yeah. Well, and I know that we did get some flack on that for not preparing guests about it. We didn't, or the audience, we didn't say anything. We just dropped it. But I still think it was the best call. I know that it was what?
Preparing them for what?
That we were going to have Jackie Hill Perry, Mrs. Hill Perry.
What are you prepared for?
I'm just saying this is
I'm so sick of how some of these people, exactly, before you hit play. I'm so sick of the sensitivity of some of these people in this culture. I'm sorry. If you don't listen to Jackie Hill Perry, then go to the next episode.
Well, I think also part for me, why we didn't say anything until it dropped was because we also weren't sure it was going to happen.
Exactly.
There was, I mean, even once we had it scheduled, I was like, is this real? Are we doing it? I don't know.
It was so crazy. That was so crazy. That's one thing I'm actually very glad to be getting away from when it comes to this part of this world. It's just some of the sensitivity. I can't handle it. It's y'all are grown-ups. Manage your own feelings and your own expectations.
You decide not to.
It drives me crazy, actually. Yeah. That's probably my biggest pet peeve in the side B world. It drives me crazy.
I'm going to put, I'll see if I can put it in the episode, if I can find it. But Chuck DeGroat, who wrote When Narcissism Comes to Church, he came and did a retreat at our church recently. And he talked about the difference between emotional awareness and emotional regulation, and how we depend on other people to regulate for us, but we the importance of learning to it was great. It was great for me, learning for myself, all of these things, but totally understand what you're saying is we have to learn how to decide how to engage with these spaces.
Yes. But if I'm having Jackie Perry over for dinner and I invite a bunch of people and they don't know, that's yes, I should have given you a heads up about that for sure. But if you have access to this and if you have eyes, okay, if you have ears to hear, okay, let them hear. You can literally just choose to be oh, I don't want to listen to that, so I'm just going to click next.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Art and I talk about that all the time. About it's just it's too much. Who's speaking at what did somebody say at Revoice? That the person Misty should have given the trigger warning, and I was y'all know what we're here to talk about. Some of these things. It's walk out of the room then for sure. But I'm also, should you be here?
Yeah.
If no, I'm not trying to be shady. Should you even be at this gathering if this is if this is where you're at on your journey? And no shade. I think you should use some discernment to really determine if this is a space that you need to be at, given the fact that we're not going to stop the show just because somebody over here has, yes, we will accommodate needs. Don't hear me say that we won't.
Well, and but that's sorry, go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, it's we will accommodate needs, but we're not going to do this catering to your needs so much that the collective now has to walk on eggshells because you are not able to regulate or determine or discern your capabilities to engage in things critically or not. And
Yeah.
so, and I need to
Yeah.
stop talking before I get
No,
ahead of myself. Because you might
think it's
get
good.
an email. So
I mean, honestly, so that's another thing. I do have a few episodes that stood out to me, and then Grant, I don't know if you have stuff,
sorry.
but like one thing I
Oh my
will
God,
say
I got
there,
on
because
tangent, sorry.
I love it, and one of the things I will say in this is the fact that I am surprised we have not gotten more like backlash on things. I feel like we got more backlash from affirming people. I am surprised we went under the radar as much as we did with conservative people. And I think if I had to guess why, I think we were just seen as the chaotic people that they didn't assume anyone in their churches were going to listen to, so they didn't mind they engaged with individuals. Like I feel like Becca and Grant got a lot of that heat, mostly from conservatives, but like I think we only got a mention like once, which is fine. But we more would get mentions from affirming sided people who were anti-side B.
But
also, side note, I don't think we're the most chaotic side B group.
I don't think. Oh, I was about to say. I think.
I don't want to name any names, but I do not.
But I think I won't. But I think we actually came in. I think people might have been expecting a lot of chaos and chaotic from us. But I was like, we talk about very grounded things, and we do have like boundaries, and like we have guardrails within the larger conversation we're having. And so it's like, I think people were pleasantly surprised that we were as serious as we were.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Because I wanted to make sure that we didn't basically display the arguments with Inside B. Like, no one needs to be seeing this like that. I wanted us to be able to unify and engage in conversation, but not necessarily have that. And also, like, I feel like we handled it well. Really quickly, episodes that stood out to me, and then I want to hear from you, Grant. That before I forget, one, I mean, he wasn't my partner at the time, but I still really found it very, very impactful. Was Christian's episode on sexual abuse? It was needed.
It was good.
It was really good. I think, like, from a heavy topic aspect, I felt like that is one that I'm so glad we got to talk about, because it's probably the most untalked about topic within our space, and needs to be, like, especially with inside B people of this kind of harm and hurt that happens. So I think on heavy topics that needed to be talked about, that is absolutely one. And then one that always sticks with me is talking to Paulo about sexual integrity. I mean, obviously that was a personal one for me. And also I think that I just adore Paulo. I just adore Paulo. Lastly, I will say I am just so, and props to Grant, because this was Grant's baby idea, brain baby, was the thing on the gospel of creation, sin, justification, glorification, that sub-series that we did. That was beautiful.
Good. Yeah.
That was really good.
Oh my God. That was one of my favorite chunks of episodes. I agree. Those were good.
I think we grew so much that the last 2 seasons were just full of really, like, I'm biased now. All our episodes are good, but I think these last two seasons were so good.
Yeah, it was.
I really agree with that.
We got to topics that we had been wanting to. I think Ashley had said that before, but like it was like we finally got to the topics we wanted to talk about. Yeah.
Grant, who is your favorite guest or favorite Bastard episodes outside of those ones?
I think I really enjoyed Elizabeth and I's QCF 23.
Yes.
Talk on reclaiming intimacy.
Intimacy.
I felt like we both walked away from that conversation thinking like, wow, it's amazing what happened in that episode. And it was clear that we weren't in control of the whole thing. Like it felt like that was, we said things that we didn't expect to say. And it ended up really being really beautiful. I also really loved my conversation with Joel Briggs.
I loved that. Creativity.
Yeah, creativity, storytelling, creativity is resilience, that kind of thing. I really enjoyed that. I loved our episodes with Steve. And I'm trying to think of anything else. There were so many those are some of my favorite. Our Reclaiming Masculinity episode.
Yes,
I loved
people really
it.
enjoyed that episode. I thought
People
yeah,
enjoyed
I think
it.
that was maybe the most chaotic we may
Yes,
have
for
been.
sure.
Yeah.
But people
was-
resonated with that more than I thought they were going to, by
Yeah.
far. Because I was like, we're having fun talking. And I was like, oh, people are taking this serious. That was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Loved the conversations that I noticed happening in different social media spaces after that, of how people were engaging with you guys talking about masculinity and calling each other girl. I think it shook something in people of like, well, wait, what do we do? And but it's part of the masculinity conversation. Was that one that you did, Grant, that stuck out with me was Matthew Ventura talking about identity.
Yeah, I was thinking about that one too. He was so
the way he explained it.
Yeah, so
It stuck
insightful.
His paradigm of like, do I want to associate or disassociate, and relating to how I describe myself was like super helpful.
Yeah,
and
disarming. I think
disarming.
I love someone who's able to talk about a topic in such a way that no one can be like up in arms. Everyone's just kind of deflated. They're like, oh, so we don't have to fight. And I think that's what that conversation was like. But
okay, another question. Okay, so what do you think is the biggest misconception about you, just maybe from the podcast or in the sphere, that you'd love to clear up now?
You know what? Okay, I'm going to add to that. Can I add to that? What we each think. We need to answer what we think is the misconception of each. And if anyone has a misconception about the other two that you think needs to be cleared up. I'm just interested if you have thoughts on the other two. Oh, gosh.
Hey, Grant, what is the biggest misconception? I love how you're losing it.
Go ahead, Grant. Say it. I feel like you already have it.
I don't know if this is a misconception.
It might be true.
Well, no, here's the thing. I don't know if this is a misconception, but I do want to clear something up.
Okay.
And that is, listen, future shot. I'm here. I'm waiting. Yes. Listen, I'm here. I'm available. I have a busy schedule, but I can make time. Listen, I just want to throw that out there. So I don't know if that's a misconception. I think people understand. Well, maybe, but I haven't received a lot of messages. So maybe they don't understand.
Girl, clear it up now.
He's available.
Okay? Yes.
Listen, let's
DMs
talk.
are open.
Let's talk. Anyway, I don't know what are the, like, that's kind of silly. I don't know if there's a misconception that I can think of about me. Do you guys have any thoughts about misconceptions about me?
I think sometimes people would be surprised by how serious of a person you actually are.
That's true.
Probably true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the slice of my life that appears on this podcast is, well, it's influenced by you, Henry. So,
vice versa.
So one of my favorite moments that just stuck out with me was also there was a introduction season episode where Grant was quarantining and Henry asked the audience to send alcohol to you like sent alcohol to his door or something. You like had alcohol like delivered to his door while we were recording.
God, did I?
After this,
that is so chaotic.
Be getting this wrong, but this is how I'm remembering that event.
Did that happen?
It was like during COVID years or something. You were quarantining or something.
It probably because
it probably did happen, but
life was not real for me at that point in time, so it wasn't real for any of us. And
no.
Yeah.
Do you have misconceptions, Henry, about yourself?
Or I want to clear up that I think.
Oh yeah.
I said I don't have any misconceptions about myself. I know who I am. I think people either, one, just in general, I think people assume I'm extroverted and I'm way more outgoing than I actually am. Because again, they hear me talk amongst 5 other people who I'm good friends with, and I cut up and keep with John. And for sure, I speak my mind, so like that makes me relatable, I guess, in certain ways. But like when people approach me, I'm just like, sometimes I'm like, you not, just because I'm an introvert, and nobody ever believes that. So if you're listening to this and roll your eyes at that, you're in great company. Nobody ever believes that. But so yeah, I've spent my lifetime convincing people I'm an introvert. So now I'm just at the point where I've stopped. But and I think the other one is that people think I am like this, and maybe not even just on this, like probably not this arena, because by default we're fairly conservative Christians. But I think people think I'm this super liberal person that I'm just like, oh my gosh, like really? Like, tell me more about that. Okay, I'd love to know him. He sounds like fun. Okay.
You just went on a rant about how people are too sensitive, Henry. I think people might get it.
Good. So I already cleared up. See? Because the Lord has went before me. Okay,
Yes.
The Lord went before me 10 minutes ago. No, so yeah, but other than that, like, Grant, that's funny talking about his DMs. So.
Yes. I have one for you, Henry. I think that many times people, I mean, you are a confident person, and you establish yourself with obviously a lot of boundaries, but like there is a very vulnerable side to you. There is a very vulnerable side to you that like when people see it, they can sometimes be shocked by like.
Really? I feel like I do a pretty good job of publicly being, not publicly, but like openly.
You've cried in public a lot.
Well, no, I would say like invulnerability of that, but I think vulnerability of your own sensitivity and your own story that I think sometimes could surprise people by like how I would think that, for instance, there probably are some people who think like Henry just knows how people care about him and like all of these things, but like you have your own journey of like having to remind yourself how much you're loved.
Absolutely.
And how much all of these things. And
yes,
the
I know the things I struggle with. Yeah. And so
not to throw all of your stuff out in the thing, but I just think that like there's
that. Yeah.
I think that people can see a part of your heart in moments, and you definitely do well at showing that, but I think even more as you get to know you.
Yes, because I am aware that I'm not like, I don't come off calculated, but like there is a level of like control that I probably exert that like, unless you like get to know me more, that then you really can see. And so,
well, and I think it's also boundaries, that you're boundaried on who you're going to share that with and who you're not, and who's deserving of that and who's not.
And I think being in the space, you have to be, because especially if you're first new in the space and you jump into the side B world, it's like you want to give yourself to everybody and everything and everyone, and that's not sustainable. So I think as now 6-7 years in this community, it's like, gosh, it's been that long. Wow, 7 years. It's just like, oh, and now it's just not sustainable. So it's like now there's discernment and like, all right, who do I show this side of myself to? Not that I'm hiding from anyone, but it's like you can only go so deep with so many people. And so I'd rather I go for the depth. I go to have boundaries and go for the depth versus very loose boundaries, which is then chaotic and then surface level. So it's like, friend to all is a friend to none, what they say.
Gosh, I mean, obviously the initial one that comes to mind for me that has been more since I've been in a partnership is everyone assumes I'm affirming. Just I deal with it so often. And I think on top of that, because I've gotten to a place of such security about what I believe and how I live my life, that like I don't talk about side B necessarily as blatantly, but like about queer faith in general. Like I talk a lot more about shame and resentment and these kind of aspects rather than how to stay celibate kind of aspect. And so I think because of that, and I mean, mostly a lot of it comes from the fact that I am in a lifelong partnership, that I do like it so much, and I try not to entertain it. I try to be like, cool, that's your thought. I'm like, where does that insecurity come up from you that you feel so like you need to know my theology? Because I feel very happy and I feel very grounded. It ain't changing. Believe me. It is not changing.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's so funny to me how much people will think that my theology, like that I could easily become affirming. And I'm like, you really don't know me then. You really don't
if
know.
I'm not affirming by now, what's gonna do it? What's gonna do it?
Y'all. Okay, so the thing I said I was going to speak about offline, I'll just bring it up. You teed it up very well. I was like, oh, this can be messy, but I can talk about it in a way that's not messy. And you just, if I would have said it 15 minutes ago, it would have been messy. Now you just set up in a way that's not going to be messy. Now it's educational. Now it's educational. See, look how the Lord works. Okay, let him use you, Josh. So the assumptions that people have about our lives without actually knowing us or asking us, like just ask me. But so I was, as we talked about earlier at the top of this podcast, if you're listening, I was in a partnership earlier this year, but by all expectations to myself and the other person, well, myself, because the other person was clearly anyways, but all expectations was going to be lifelong, similar to what you just said about yours. And that was not the case. It ended up not being the case. And I saw the goodness of God in that particular situation by that not happening. Thank you, Jesus. I'll see the goodness of God in the land of the living. But, yes. But so from that, so after our annual summer gathering, I got a phone call from a dear friend of ours, and we were just chatting, and my Instagram is private, so I have to either know you or know of you for you to be on my Instagram. I try, like, there's people that for sure listen to podcasts that have followed me, but I'm like, if we have enough mutuals, I'll accept your follow request kind of thing. And I'm like, I might not even follow you back because I don't know you like that. But
yes, let me look at the profile picture first. But just kidding.
He zooms into the arms. Okay. Lord. But please use that clip. Please use that clip.
No. I swear it.
But, so the person who clearly follows me, and like, I am very open about my theology, my stances. Like, I have a whole ass blog that I write about a host of topics, including faith, sexuality, and the intersection of those two. But so someone sent a screenshot of my Instagram and it was like, then emailed this to someone we both know, or all three of us know, but me and the person who follows me, who I don't know who this person is. I never found out who this person was. But they were like, we're worried that Henry's affirming. Does this make sense? Should he still be platformed in these spaces? And then I'm just like, you could just I was like, this person.
Talk with me.
Who, like, you literally, clearly, if you screenshot my personal Instagram, it means I give you access to it. If I give you access to my personal life, you can ask me a question about my personal life. And my whole thing is like, I've just been so honest about my whole walk this time around that if I was doing what this person thought I was doing, would I not just talk about it? I'll tell y'all so fast, like, y'all, I just hooked up with this guy or something. Like, can you help me process it? Like, I would, but I'm just like, I found that really off-putting, the assumption that people made. And I was like, I might have a certain, but it wasn't even like, if it was on the Life Beside B page that this was posted, it would make sense to ask that. This is my personal Instagram. It's like, if you have a question about my personal life, ask that, because like I might have a platform, quote unquote, but I'm still very much a real person. And I have an individual life and autonomous of any theological camp. And if I were going to move into it, like, and then that's when I started thinking, I was like, oh, I guess people, because to me, that occurred to me, and the person, our friend, three of us, our friend who called me, he was like, Henry, he's like, I'm not worried about this. Because he's like, of course, I know you. And like anybody who knows your life knows that like what you're going through, what happened or anything. But it's like, I'm not questioning like your integrity and like your ethics or your theology. He's like, so that was when I actually realized like, oh, this is actually going to confuse people. But I was like, but I was like, I've been so clear in my life that I never thought someone would make that assumption. And so, because to me, like Josh, I think you're so clear in your life that like, if someone asks me, Josh, a Christian or affirming, which I've gotten questions like that, I'm just like, why don't you ask that one? Go ask them.
Ask us. I've literally gotten to the point where, first of all, I tell people, unless you feel like, let's say you guys were to get a question about me being affirming, if you can't bring the name to me of the person, I don't want to know. I just don't want to know. I'm done.
You have said that. Yeah.
I'm done. So. I'm done guessing, because I get that, and I totally understand the respective things, but I'm like, either tell me the name or that person can come talk to me. And I'm done with it beyond that, because I think I've also realized that it comes from the people's own insecurity about where they are in their own journey, that they need to know and have security in where I'm at. And I'm fine. Yeah. I am very secure in where God has led me and the theology that propels me in my life. And I totally can respect that what I say or don't say gives you insecurity in what keeps you safe. Yes. But that I can't carry that for you. That's not my burden. Yeah, that's not something for me to carry. So, like, I can totally hold the space that you feel uncomfortable. I can totally hold the space for the fact that you are processing, but that's not my burden. And I will be there along it, but I'm not going to present my life to make you feel safe in that way. But I will walk with you through what you're experiencing.
That whole soundbite, that has to be a clip. Like, we have this. That was so rich. I'm gonna just start sending that as a response.
It's kind of like the tyranny of the weaker brother. You know, like the Apostle Paul, don't eat meat sacrificed to idols, and the Apostle Paul's like, so eating meat sacrificed to idols is fine, just so we're clear. But there are some people who are really unnerved by that. Yeah, something goes out of whack when someone who's really unnerved by that is not wrong to do, or they have it makes them feel uncomfortable. They suddenly they feel like it's their right to call everyone to their kind of like respectability or their kind of clarity or something like that.
Yeah, it's something that I deal with in spiritual direction all the time with people. Like, so when I'm doing spiritual direction. With a directee, for instance, that is processing whether celibate partnerships is for them. And I don't talk about my personal life in spiritual direction, but obviously, if they've listened to the podcast, they know about me. Yeah. And no directee has ever asked me to clarify anything, whatever. That's fine. But for instance, in those spaces, I can totally hold the space whether you are processing whether celibate partnerships is right for you, available for you, ethical, even altogether. 100%. I can understand those questions. The problem is, and this doesn't happen in spiritual direction, this happens more like with messaging, where you feel I need to change my messaging so that you can process it. Yep. That's not the thing. But if you want to come to me and like, hey, my insecurity about what your theology is makes me feel this way. Totally. Let's have that conversation. Yeah. Let me hold that space. I totally can understand that you feel uncomfortable. I'm still not I'm still celibate. I'm still all of the things. I feel that way with affirming people. If you feel uncomfortable with the fact that I'm celibate, totally understand.
Maybe there's on you.
And I'm here for you. Yeah. But I'm also not changing that.
I'm not going to feel anxious for you. You can feel anxious for yourself. I'm fine.
So that's a whole thing for me.
I put a note in the chat about that.
I noticed that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I was going to, obviously now that context has been given without having given listeners that personal context. Yeah. But, when things like that happen, it makes people who are living their life so openly, it almost like people want to project shame that you should feel bad for living your life honestly in front of others. And it makes people for a while, it almost made me think well, if I do something like that again, should I maybe not talk about it or not tell people? But I was like, no, now it'd be me betraying myself and my convictions to live openly and honestly. But just because someone else is uncomfortable and couldn't broach that topic. And because I'm like, I guarantee you what makes it uncomfortable for you has nothing to do with me. It's uncomfortable for you because you haven't processed what you need to process for yourself.
Yeah.
And like, there's room for you to do that. But like, and then also, so it makes other people who are also doing the same thing we're doing, make them not want to talk about it because they see how we're receiving those kind of things. And like, even the person I mentioned but like, they don't talk about it because like, then fallout if that person spoke about it. Could you imagine?
I know, and I feel it. And it's so
then I'm
awful.
just like, then I'm like, but then it's the other thing that was weird about that is like, I'm being punished for actually living openly. It was wild. And I was just like, or perception, quote unquote, being punished. Punished is dramatic. But it's like, I'm being judged for being honest. Like,
I mean,
since when?
This is exactly why, and this has been such a shift in my life through this podcast. I won't accept donors anymore in my practice.
So I tell people, a ministry set up with donors and sponsorship. It's one of the worst things to happen in ministry because it makes you be holding people's wallet books. Like, your conduct, what you say and what you do. And I'm just like, no.
Like, if you want to give money, cool. But also, I'm not going to plan for that as a requirement for the ministry, like for what I do.
Because it comes to, I'll give money to Josh, I'll give money to Grant if Josh or Grant present in this way or perform this way or use this kind of language. Or
that's not a donation, that's a purchase, and I'm not selling that. You know,
Say a lot for the people in the back. Please.
That's not for sale. I'm so sorry.
And I have so much compassion for the fact that there are ministries that have to operate that way.
I really do.
Hate that. I hate it.
Them.
But like, I can't operate that way anymore.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a donation. That's a purchase. Oh my God. Yes.
I mean, it's just that, honestly, that. Go ahead.
And purchase my pardon on Calvary's tree. Come on now.
Jesus paid it all.
Yes. Again with the theme. You see? Paid it all.
Paid it all.
I mean, this is going back to the podcast. I feel like that it's crazy for me to think where I was when we first started this and where I am now. I don't know how 2018, 19 Josh would feel about Josh now. There have been destroyed relationships. There have been new relationships. There has been a shift in ministry. The very fact of where I am, but yet I am so thankful for this journey. I am at bigger peace with myself. I am at more peace with myself. And God's calling on my life and fulfillment. Sure, I have hard times, but the blessing of where I am at, and the fact that I can engage in those spaces, and that does not bring me down. I'm not worried about what people think about me is going to destroy my ministry or like the way I speak. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, great. But at the same time, having ways forward that I feel like centered in the peace of God and also the ability to go forward without the fear of where other people is affecting it, I think is the greatest transformation through this podcast for me.
Yeah.
I love that.
I feel similarly. Besides also getting so much more muscles and becoming even more handsome than I used to be. And that's the biggest transformation.
Becoming that gym gay.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Remember our gym gay conversation?
Yes. We wanted to
to
create the clothing line Active Homosexual.
Yes. Oh my God. You know what? I'm gonna make us oh my gosh, I'm gonna get us tanks or hoodies for like as a present. Oh my God, I'm gonna create that. Okay.
Active homosexual.
Active homosexual.
Where could I wear that with the work that I do, Henry?
The gym?
The gym.
The gym at the Jesuit school where I go to the gym.
Yes. Very much there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen.
You could wear it to the Republican National Convention. So I guess in 4 years.
My DMs would be crazy then.
Okay. Just go visit Josh and just go visit Josh and wear it in West Palm Beach. Okay.
Yeah, I'm supposed to. I'm supposed to visit you.
You're supposed to come down.
Yeah, I'm so like 2 years overdue. Lord have mercy. Question. What was my other one? Okay, let me see. Let me pull this up. I can't ask that.
What? Now you It's the end. What are they going to do? Cancel us?
That's true. Okay. Uh, um, I
Grant's
don't
like,
know why
oh
this
God.
happens. Oh my gosh. Okay. You already alluded to this. No, I can't ask. I really want to, but okay. So since you just said, okay, yeah, I'll rework it this way. You just said you don't even know what Josh 5 years ago would feel about your 2018, 2019.
Ooh, yeah.
Where do you see Josh 5 years from now?
Oh, that's a good question.
You all know I love questions. I never get to ask y'all. Yeah, I'm just always interviewing other people. So.
I mean, granted, Christian and I have said you might see us in Spain.
Yeah.
But
I'll join you. I'll come.
Please.
Okay.
Yeah, that's our agreed upon place because I don't want to learn a third language and he wants Europe, so Spain it is.
I was about to say you better learn third language, but he already speaks a second language.
Okay, listen, Christian started Spanish and is already close to mine.
Really?
But the thing I love,
that's amazing.
This man is this is the difference. I'm not a linguist. He's a linguist. But the thing I love more than anything, you two will adore this, is that his Spanish tutor is Colombian, and she's from Bogota. So her accent is called Rolo, which is like the capital area, kind of like New York City, maybe. You know, it's the polished, it's the newscaster, like people kind of that kind of thing. My accent is called Paisa, which is like Pablo Escobar. Okay. It's the ghetto.
Not polished.
No, it's not. But I'm just trying to think. It's the big city. I'm trying to think of like a good polished accent. But anyway, I love that literally in the first session he tells her that his partner speaks Colombian Spanish and speaks Paisa, and she's like, "Oh, the redneck Spanish," and I'm like, "Sure." Anyway,
brutal.
Yeah,
brutal.
Back to your question. I don't know. I really hope that obviously my practice has grown because it's still a baby growing. And it's funny. I wasn't sure I would stay. Like Christian and I have talked. We really weren't sure we would stay in West Palm long term, but I think now that we've have the beautiful community that we have grown here, it's been really cool to see how even like with our home and things that we've been like, yeah, this could be our forever home. Like this could be our place. But what I would say then, go ahead.
Let me add this caveat to the question. Specifically, where do you see yourself in 5 years in this world, like Side B world, B voice?
Okay.
Or do you see yourself? Yeah.
I hope I plan to have written a book by then.
Okay.
And I've already kind of started making mentions of it. I am working on a podcast for Afterlife on Side B, which you both will be on at times. And wherever that takes in 5 years. Yeah. But I hope to have written a book within the next 5 years, and have a full-time practice, spiritual direction, especially speaking into sexuality.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would say.
Okay. Grant, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And also specifically in the Side B world with the voice and platform and whatnot?
I'm graduating in May.
Yes. Oh my God. We have to come graduation.
Oh, that would be really fun.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. It would be, I'm imagining this friend group interacting with all my friends here.
I can't wait.
I think a lot of things will click for them. I think,
oh God.
I want to be involved in some way in caring for LGBTQ folks in religious spaces and in evangelism. Those are things that I care about. I'm working on right now a project going through the Gospel of John, or making connections for LGBTQ folks through encounters with Jesus in the Gospel of John. I also worked as a chaplain this past summer, an interfaith chaplain at a hospital. And that was such a transformational experience. And I would love an opportunity to do something like that in the future. Who knows what my role will be in Side B world?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't even know what Side B will look like in 5 years. Remember a while ago, someone posted something like, Side B is going to be dead. Like, Side B is going to die and disappear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think that's true.
No.
But Side B is growing and evolving, and Side B world is so different than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. Oh,
when
God.
this podcast started.
So different. Like, we have institutions. We have thinkers. We've built something really beautiful. So
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to look like, but I want to be a part of the building. So I want to keep building that with my people. So
yeah.
What about you, Henry?
Yeah, in 5 years, I know I'm not living in Texas full time. Hell, by this time next summer, I hope I'm living. I don't want to put that out yet, but yeah, I know I won't be here even full time this time next year. So I'll be living part time, and I've got to get out of.
You'll be in St. Louis.
Close. I've got 4 hours away, so I've got to get out of the cultural biblical South. I just can't. It's suffocating as a queer person, as a Black person, as an immigrant. It's just like, it's so performative, and I've just gotten over it. So in 5 years, I highly doubt I'll be living here at all. Like, Texas and Fort Worth will always be home. So like, I'll probably be, if I had enough money, I'd love to maintain a residency or like a house I could rent out or something. But anyways, I've got to go. And then in this space, I also do see myself as someone in 5 years. I do. I would very much like to, and whatever that looks like, I'm very open to the Lord has. But in this space, I've been telling Greg Webb for years, because I've been on staff for View Voice as 4 years, 4 to 5. And I've been saying after each one of, it's my last year of service, my last year on staff, and I come back every year.
Every year.
I keep saying it's my last year in town, and I keep coming back. But I do not. I hope that my voice won't be needed in this space in 5 years. So that the other voices rising up behind us, that we don't have to occupy it. I mean, even I think that one of the reasons this podcast is a good place to end is because we have done enough work that there are other people coming up behind us that can pick up the mantle if they so wish to. But I genuinely don't know if I will interact with this world as much still in 5 years. I truly don't know. I say that all the time. Then I also don't see how I could ever fully leave this community that has given me so much. And but I'm excited to figure it all out together with y'all. So I know definitely that we'll still be in each other's lives for sure, way beyond this podcast.
Absolutely.
And on that, I want to say my last two things are questions. What would you like to say to, one, just our audience, over the last, oh my God, let me get emotional, over the last 6 years, 5 for us, but 6 as a whole. And what would you like to say or thank them, or any just parting words? I don't know what order this episode is going to drop in the season.
Yeah.
And then I would like to give y'all's flowers and give each other our flowers. So
yes.
So Grant, what would you like to say?
To the audience, you said?
Yeah.
I think I just want to say thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so quiet. I am.
I feel so honored to have been on this journey, and confused as to why people still listen to me. I think for many LGBTQ folks, a sort of guiding motivation for them is to be who they needed when they were younger.
Mm.
And I think in this podcast, we got to be who we needed. And so I know I wasn't perfect. I know I'm not perfect. And I know I said lots of outrageous things. And I grew and I changed. I switched
We loved all of the outrageous
religious
things.
traditions. And I'm still a mess. But I'm thankful that I got to be with you guys. I got to play that role in people's lives, and I want them to take up the mantle and to be who they needed when they were younger.
Yeah.
So we can all do this together, all build each other up, the body of Christ. Yeah.
Josh, what would you like to say to the audience? Our fearless leader.
Ooh. I don't even know. Like, I mean, thank you for what you guys have given me. You know, I started this podcast with questions I needed to answer. And I think that you all helped me realize I wasn't crazy because you all were asking the same questions. You helped me find my own voice. I listened to the first 3 episodes of this podcast and I cringed so much. And I had so much compassion for little baby Josh at the exact same time. But at the same time, thank you to all of you guys for your compassion, for your love, for your encouragement, even for your statements of where we needed to grow and where I needed to grow, and willing to say the hard thing at times. Thank you. And I know I'll have more to say in our finale, but that's what I'd say now.
Yeah. To our listeners in this audience, you beautiful, beautiful people, I want to say as well, thank you for inviting us into your cars, your homes, your headphones, wherever you've been listening and catching this content. And most importantly, sounds cliche, but thank you for welcoming us into your hearts. Truly. It is not something that I take for granted that y'all have been on this journey with us and have been on this ride and have allowed us, like Josh said, have allowed us to grow and change and be wrong, and have done so with us, have held us accountable, have laughed with us, have really treated us with a respect that was impactful, because to exist in this space and know that, oh, people are caring about what we say, it does give it a weight to, hey, I want to make sure that we steward this gift of this podcast and the resources podcast well, so for the kingdom and for others, so it's not just like this thing that's thrown in the void, but this thing that became very intentional and very meaningful to all 6 of us in such different ways. That, I mean, I think even some of the feedback we've gotten have given us some of the best laughs and memories, and just, I think in so many ways the 6 of us are a family, but the audience help also grow the concept and the bond of this family. Even the live episodes were so fun. And those are some of my favorites, and me taking phone calls on live episodes and working. But
I'll never. I'm so excited to share with you guys that people have been sending audios in of how the podcast has impacted them that will be part of these episodes.
I'm gonna cry.
Oh, I know. I was crying just now. Lord, I'm gonna cry about that.
No, you're the softie among us right now, but
I know.
I'm gonna cry later.
It's going to be really impactful. And I'm sure that as we start the season, more people are going to send in more.
Yes, I would love that.
Later.
And to Josh and Grant, I'm going to give you all flowers and close with this. Josh, you created such a wonderful thing here that I think the vision you had, you probably didn't even fully see it at the time, but you should be so, so proud of this thing that you have built from the ground up. And the voices you've had on here, I think we've had 8 different co-hosts in total. Or 7, 8 including you. And you gave each one, whether it was 1 season, 2, or 5, you gave everyone a chance to express themselves, to bring themselves as they are fully to the table, knowing that they had a seat at the table. And you give our listeners a chance to do that too, to pull up a chair, bring their own chair to the table, and sit down. And you opened up dialogue that was so needed in ways that people were so hungry for. Because I'm just like, my God, imagine this podcast had existed in 2014, in 2015, in 2016, 17, 18. And so you really did something similar in the ways that, like you say, you want to write a book. You have written lots of books. You've been writing a book for 6 years with this podcast. So you have. Yeah. And so, I mean, truly the content of this podcast is worth dissertations upon dissertations. So yeah, you already have a book out. You're a published author as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, and it's timeless and it will live on. And I think this podcast is one of those ministry things that's going to age well. And so I think that's going to be a part of your legacy. You should be very, very proud of that. And I'm so proud of you for that.
Receive it, Henry. Thank you.
Yes. Grant, my chaotic brother, sister in Christ. There are a few people that I feel a kinship with the way I do you. I mean, like, anytime you call me, I'm just like, I know I'm going to be in for a treat because I don't know what's going to be on the other end of this phone call.
Tears streaming down my face, my life falling apart.
Okay, at the airport. Okay.
Oh my gosh, that airport conversation. I've written songs about that. I wrote a song about that conversation. I'll send it to you.
Okay, perfect. But no, I mean, from you stealing my thunder at Revoice, stacking tables and chairs and sending me a heart attack. Lord, the fact that you went viral this side, you rolled for that photo.
Yeah, and then I proceeded to lie about it for years. Yeah, like, oh yeah, I'm always carrying the chairs. Absolutely.
Yes. As I'm laying in a coma, this man's just going viral on Twitter.
Oh gosh.
But no, the empathy you bring to conversations and the gentleness that you have has been such a gift to me. And specifically when you interview people, it's always, I love listening to episodes that you're on that I'm not on, because yes, I'm not there to like encourage your chaotic nature. And so there's a different side of you that I get to experience when I listen to episodes you're on that I really love. And you are a beautiful teacher, and you are someone who, more importantly than that, you are a gifted listener. And I think the art of listening is so lost these days. And you know how to listen, to provide space and empathy, and just like to hold room for something and someone. And that's so needed. And I have been a beneficiary and a recipient of that gift you have. And I thank God for that. And I look forward to just seeing you grow and develop that further in ministry and where the Lord takes you. And then both of y'all, just my friendships with y'all, who, I mean, we were friends, right? 5 years ago, we all were friends to an extent. But this, like, y'all are like my family. Like, I mean, y'all are like among the people that I want to call first when something goes wrong or right in my life. I want to mourn with y'all, want to cry with y'all, and I want to celebrate with y'all, which is just such a gift, because also in this community, we know that so many people long for what we have. And that's a big void that a lot of people long for. And I hope that, and I believe the three of us have set an example online and offline on how to do that and model that well. So thank y'all for just doing that alongside me.
Yeah.
And yes, are we all going to do this episode, the 6 of us?
There's going to be a last episode, and then I'm also going to invite Mary and Sarah to come back if they would like.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I was okay. I'll give my flowers to the ladies then. So okay.
And I would
I love how the men never change it. It's just been us. The ladies have shifted.
Been us.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say I'm going to have more to share on the finale, but I will say the treasures that you both have given me, both in the recordings and outside, are immeasurable. I feel like
queer treasures, if you will.
Grant, I feel like I have learned so much from you. You have opened my mind in new ways. The ways you come up with ideas and things that you say that I'm just like, I never would have understood it that way. And it would not be without you in any of those things. I cannot imagine my life without you. And Henry, the ways that you have just given me the freedom to be myself, the ways that you have been willing to say the things that need to be said, even to me, that I have felt that love and compassion. I was reflecting not long ago on the moment I still will always remember coming home and Christian had gotten the call because I was unavailable about you being in the hospital and having died. And I broke down. I broke down because I had worried I had lost you. And so like both of you, I cannot imagine my life without you. I will have more to say later, but I'm so honored that both of you said yes. And not only just once. I told you all each time it was only a 1 season requirement and you kept saying yes. Yeah. And each yes, I was honored. Each yes, I was very honored to have you back. So
yeah, I think that there are very few people in my life, in general, I think, where I can bring everything into conversation with you and everything belongs.
Yes. Come on, call back. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and so I'm so thankful that you have been home to me. So I'm just, I almost can't even put it into words. I'm just very thankful for both of you. So thanks for being on this journey, for inviting me, Josh, and for being on this journey with me, both of you. I love you both so much.
Love you both.
Oh gosh.
Oh my gosh.
This isn't even the finale.
I know. I know.
There's so much going to come. Like the finale, I will warn everyone, the finale is not one recording. We're going to do a recording of all 7, 8 of us, depending on if Mary and Sarah can come back. But there's also going to be clips that I've been recording with people of like, it's going to be a whole thing. It's going to be something that even we will have to listen to experience in a sense.
It's a proper send-off. I love it.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be worse than the Heartstopper finale.
My gosh.
That's the goal.
My gosh.
Yeah.
You know, it's like whenever like a TV show is ending and the cast start doing their press interviews and like going down memory lane, I really feel like this is like what this is going to become. It's like, oh my gosh, like
growth.
Like when the cast of Friends sat down with Oprah. After that finale episode aired, I'm just like, this is going to be it.
And it's just the treasures that have been, and like you said, everyone, these episodes will be here. What I think will be so precious will be the people who discover this after.
Yes.
Yeah, when they dig up dirt on us from the past.
Okay.
Listen, there's no, y'all, if you try to find dirt on me, it's out there. Don't waste time.
Yeah, on the evangelical dark web.
Yes, I'll tell you myself, okay? I'm the evangelical black Candace Owens there, or the gay Candace Owens, everybody. Lord.
Every time, for some reason, she appears on my feed, that comment.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you. Oh my gosh.
That was wild.
On evangelical Twitter, that is what I'm going to go be known for, Lord.
All right, y'all. God. I think we've given them enough content for all of this.
We certainly have.
Yes.
Also, yes, to our haters, in the word of Shania Twain, they said, I'll bet they'll never make it, but just look at us holding strong. Still together, still going strong.
Okay. All right. Looks like Grant's storage is running low again, so we need to pause it. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.